Hello, adventurers, and welcome to the Micflayers podcast, coming to you on the psychic brainwaves of an emerald dragon. I'm your host, Conor O'Brien, and joining me as always is my co-host, Mr. Martin O'Dwyer.
That was a good one this week, Conor. I'll give you that.
I would say it's topical, Martin.
Very topical.
How are you? How are things?
Good, man. It's been a long week, but some really cool stuff came out that we're going to get to talk about today. So I've been really looking forward to this. And the podcast is always a highlight, man. Podcast is always a highlight.
I am. Two things. One, yes, it has been a long week. I'm really tired this week. And two, isn't it always weird how I go, hey, Martin, how are you at the start of the podcast? But we've already been talking for 30 minutes.
Then to be fair, over those 30 minutes, we probably only said, we did actually ask each other how to
They did some talk shows as well. I mean, like, we're lying to ourselves if we don't think Conor O'Brien went to whoever's dressing room before the show started and goes, hey, cool, look, I'll see you out there anyway. And then they come out and they go, hey, it's nice to see you, as if they haven't seen each other in a very long time.
It's worse on actual talk shows because they sit down and go, what would you like us to ask you about? What would you like us not to ask you about? Well,
they prep stuff.
Yeah.
It's why I like Graham Norton a lot, because I feel like his is way more freeform and less. I want to say, without being too mean about it, is less bullshit.
I think I'm too cynical, and I still think they say the exact same shit.
Don't get me wrong, because even Graham Norton has the cards, and he'll go, but you have a story about this. But then he actually does probably the least amount of work of any talk show host, but has the best show, because he'll do that and someone will tell a story, and then the 4 or 5 guests that are on the couch will talk amongst themselves, and he'll come in with a quip every now and again. Whereas other talk show hosts consistently have to keep the conversation running because it's a one-on-one scenario, which is way harder to do. But I'm like, it's why I always think Graham Norton has a more entertaining show.
Some strange parallels between talk show hosts and DMs there.
That's very true, actually. Yeah, if it's a one-on-one game, you have to put a lot more work in. But if it's if you have 4 or 5 players, you hear something in the bushes, and immediately the 4 or 5 players will be like, I draw my bow, I'm gonna hide, and everyone just starts coming up with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Or you go, there's slime on the door, and 3 players go, it's a mimic.
Still one of the best moments of this campaign. I can't remember what episode we talked about it in. Long story short, I was trying to basically freak the guys out in a horror scenario. I told one of the players that he touched the door frame and it was covered in slime, and I didn't plan this, but he thought the whole building's a mimic, which it wasn't, and there wasn't even slime there. He was hallucinating the slime. They all panicked, ran out of the building, and then one of them goes, why'd you call us out? And he showed them his hand and there was nothing on it, and they were like, you're hallucinating right now, aren't you? And he's like, oh, I might be hallucinating. And then they all went back into the building, continued to loot the place.
Oh man, yeah, that was just a perfect example of just like knowing just enough to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. I honestly, they're rare enough, those moments, but when you just like, it's the perfect idea of like a drop of chaos. Just you with a little dropper going bloop, and that goes in, and the ripples run throughout all the water then, and it's just like, all this happened because I said this one thing, or I phrased this one thing in a certain way, not even intending to. But then the players just latched onto this one word. It's like that thing in Critical Role, this campaign, where they were in a house in like a halfling village, I want to say. It was, it was the place that Veth, the character Veth, is from. Her husband's workshop was in the basement, and they were looking at the microscope.
Oh, the chair.
And there was a chair in the middle of the room, and they were obsessing over the chair, and they were casting detect magic and identify on the chair. It was just a regular wooden chair.
I'm a little bit behind.
I love when players get hooked up on something like that, and you're like, I did not plan this, but let's roll with it and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm a little behind on Critical Role, but I have seen that, and yeah, oh my god, that was painful, and that just became a meme then. But the chair, Matthew.
Every time he was in a room, and he's like, you see some tables and some chairs? I attacked the chairs.
Yeah. Just the day.
That's actually a recurring thing when it comes to mimics.
Yeah.
Anytime, like, at the weirdest times, I rarely use mimics, because I feel like if you use them too much, the bit wears off of the furniture coming to life.
Oh, I haven't used mimics yet. Ooh.
Mimics are always fun. But I used them once in the first campaign. Like a table, a desk, and a chair came to life and attacked you because they were the watchdogs, the guard dogs in a tavern. And we got a good laugh out of it, and it was all funny at the time. I've not used them since, and that was honestly like 4 or 5 years ago. It's a long while back.
There's new mimics now as well, actually, with Tasha's.
There's mimic colonies, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's like a giant mimic.
That was actually the thing as well with the thing about Mike putting his hand in the door and feeling the slime, because Tasha's had come out like the week or two beforehand, and you and I had been talking about the new environment in the Mimic colony.
Flashed into my head when you said there was, like, you know, the one of the old people sitting on the porch, and there's like, and the frame of the porch is teeth.
It's like Monster House,
yeah,
the movie Monster House.
And they're just sitting there knitting. That's the image that flashed through my head, and I'm like, we're fucked.
That whole scenario was really brilliant, because Mike said, "Is this a mimic?" And then you pointed across the table, or whatever. Oh, no, sorry, we're on call, yeah. But I remember you going, "Oh, me and Conor were talking about mimic colonies last week." And then you pretty much confirmed it for Mike, and Mike confirmed it for you, and I said nothing. And it was so good, so good.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. But no, it's been a fun week, man. Playing a bit of video games, a good bit of playing some Devil May Cry again, which is just always a fun time.
Oh yeah, I started Days Gone, because it's free on PSN this month. It's very Last of Us. It's good though. I mean, I like The Last of Us an awful lot. It's the more video gamey Last of Us. It's a Last of Us. It's very cinematic-y. This game is a bit more gamey. It's open world.
Yeah.
But it functions in a lot of the same ways. That's not a bad thing. It plays really well. And I'm enjoying it so far. I've only put about 2 hours into it so far, but I'm enjoying it.
I remember seeing the trailers and thinking, yeah, this looks like to be a bit cruel, this looks like when you order Last of Us on Wish.
yeah. Mom, can we get Last of Us? You have Last of Us at home. I'm giving the game a bad rap. So far, it's really fun, and I know it got a pretty good reception when it came out. So I'm glad. And I've been waiting to play it for a long time, but it's been like, it literally has not gone down from like 50 or 55 quid on PSN for ages.
That's been for like 5 years or something, hasn't it?
It came out in 2017, I want to say.
Yeah, like nearly 5 years, like fucking hell.
Yeah, but yeah, it's actually another Sony internal studio as well, so it's weird that two Sony internal studios basically made two very, very similar games.
I don't know, man. Like the last, like, Jesus, like 20 years now at this stage of popular media has had so many zombies in it. Like,
I know
there were zombie movies in the 80s, man. Like,
I know, yeah.
That's 40 years. Although I really like the old schlocky, like, do you know the schlocky zombie movies where like they're clearly a dude in a rubber suit and they look super cartoony, like
I like when zombie stuff doesn't really take the zombies too seriously, or take anything too seriously.
Shaun of the Dead is one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead's really good. It takes what should be a very serious situation and just makes it very silly. Because again, if you make them like 28 Days Later style zombies, where they're fast and they're rabid and they're just looking to like kill you, that's quite scary. But then if you just make them the slow groaning zombies with the slack jaw, and then they're slowly advancing on you, and then you have time to crack jokes, and you could run up to a zombie and shove him out of the way. But I mean, like a 28 weeks later zombie, if they got blood on you, you get infected immediately, and within seconds you turn. Zombies are the whole zombie media is very burnt out. I do like that some people are trying to reinvent it. Like The Last of Us did a cool thing with it being spores.
I did like that. Yeah, that they weren't just and they're zombies and they're undead, right? No, like it's an actual like parasitic fungus. That I give them points. I give them big points to that.
And it's a real world thing as well. It affects
cordyceps
in the real world. Yeah. Which is, I think, again, grounding it that way. But also, I feel like we won't get into the Last of Us conversation, but I do feel like the Last of Us is very much.
There's a very cool Irish horror film called The Hallow. And it's basically a film. It's on Netflix. It's a film about essentially like an English couple moves into like this rural Irish town, because the husband is like a forest surveyor, and he's like surveying the forest to have it sold off privately. And as part of his job, he trespasses in the Hollow, which is where like the fairies live. And these are not your Tinkerbell folks. These are your proper Irish fairies.
Irish fairies are bollockses.
Yeah. No, but they're all like these weird like fungal kind of like tree and briar kind of creatures. And like at one point, it's not a big spoiler, it happens pretty early, I think, but the first time the fairies attack, they corner the family, and the husband looks out between the crack of a door to try and see if they're still there.
And a thorn comes through it?
No, a finger comes through, and he gets away from the finger, and a thorn comes out of the end of the finger and hits him in the eye. He slowly, over the rest of the course of the film, begins to change into one of them. And it's
freaky.
I actually would really recommend watching it. It's cool, particularly if you don't know what Irish fairies are like. The Hallow, yeah.
Oh, the Hallow. Sorry.
Yeah.
When I was in like 5th class, so I would have been.
Sorry, it's a big
old.
diversion this week, folks.
Yeah. When I was in 5th class, I was 11 years old. I specifically remember my teacher. Shout out to Mr. O'Gorman, one of the best teachers I've ever had. But he told us a story about fairies and fairy forts, and how like there was like there was a fella. He was clearly making this up. Now that I look back at it, there was distinct lack of details in this story. But he told it like he knew it firsthand. And he told us about an old man who lived in a village and had a couple drinks one night and wanted to walk home.
I have heard this exact story.
Have you heard the story?
He cuts through the fields.
He wanted to cut through the field, and then he was about to walk into a fairy fort and break a bunch of branches while going into it. And then someone says, "No, you can't go into that. That you don't ruin the fairy fort." And he was like, "It's grand, whatever." And he went there. He broke branches when he trampled through the fairy fort. And then like a couple of days later, when his friend saw him, he was covered in warts and he had a swollen eye and he was cursed and all this.
Not the one I heard. The one I heard is guy cuts through a field, ignores people telling him because don't go through there. It's the fairy fort.
Yeah.
Cuts through the field, disturbs the fairy fort, and he is trapped in that field all night until the dawn rises. He keeps trying to walk. He keeps trying to walk to the wall, and every time he gets to the wall, he's back in the middle of the field again.
He hops that wall. It turns out he's somehow hopped back into the field.
As soon as he gets to the wall, he's back in the middle of the field again. No matter what direction he goes in, as soon as he reaches the boundary of where their territory is, he's back in the middle of the field again for the whole night. That was a cool.
That's Irish fairies for you.
It must be like if we're telling fairy stories, I want to tell the one really good one I know. Okay. And it must be a thing with teachers because my favorite teacher in secondary school, Mr. Hayes, shout out to Mr. Hayes. He told us one early on in secondary school. It's kind of hard to find, to be honest, but it's also cool. So the story is there was this I don't know what village it is, but a rural Irish village, and this woman was heavily pregnant and she was on her way to the midwife's house, but she wasn't going to make it in time before the baby was born. It was the middle of the night, and next thing, while she's kind of has to stop in the middle of the road because of labour pains, and she's kind of bent over like the baby is about to arrive, and next thing, this carriage comes down the road, and driving this carriage is a very tall, very pale man. And he sees her, pulls over and asks her if she's okay. She tells him she's about to have a baby, and he says, I can help deliver this baby for you on one condition, and it's that you never speak to anyone of the fact that I helped you deliver this baby, that I helped you. And she's like, okay, yeah, whatever, help me. So he puts her on the carriage and he drives her away down the road and underground into the fairy world, because he's a fairy, he's a furbulk. And he
like a proper Irish furbulk.
The furbulks in D&D, the name comes from furbulk, which is the Irish name for the fairies. But basically, he drives her underground into the fairy world, helps deliver the baby, then drives her back out and leaves her go. And he just reminds her, you can never speak of anything you saw of here. You can never tell anyone I helped you. Years pass anyway. The child is young, and the mother and the child are walking down the road with one of their neighbours on the way to the market, and for the first time since the delivery of the baby, she sees the same carriage come by again with the furbulk fairy driving it. And as he passes, she looks at him, recognises him, and whispers to the woman beside him, "That's the guy who helped me deliver my baby." And as he drives past, the cart goes past. He hears her, stops the cart, jumps off the cart, pulls out a massive wooden hook with a huge point on it, and takes out both her eyes.
How old were you when you were told this story?
14. This was English class.
Irish folklore is fucking.
I love it.
Metal.
I love it. It's so D&D as well, though. Like the Irish god of water, Manon McLear, had a sword called. Actually, there's a series of magic swords in D&D based on the Answerer swords. Fraggerhook was the name of his sword, which literally means the Answerer. There's like the Sword of Answering, Backbiter, all those are all based off of the sword of Manon McLear. But basically, if the point of the sword was held to your throat, you couldn't tell a lie.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's so D&D.
That's just a sword with Zone of Truth, enchanted with Sword of Truth.
But like, if you literally go into the magic item section of D&D and look up like the Sword of Answering, there's like a list of swords, and they all have slightly different things. Like there's like Last Word, Backbiter, Retort, like all of these, and they're all based on that one sword. He also had a metal chariot that could ride across the water.
That's what we call a jet ski.
Yeah. It's very similar to the Norse sleep. I can't wait. Jesus, I keep nearly saying slint graver, which is the Saroon carver word. I think I'm not saying that properly either. But yeah, we should probably actually talk about what we're supposed to be talking about today.
Yeah, less about fairies and more about dragons. Because we had a new UA this week.
Yes, and it's super dope.
It's really, really good. So this week's UA was what was the actual title of it?
Draconic Options.
Draconic Options. So we got 3 new Dragonborn. I don't know, they're kind of even just full on.
They're
sub races.
Sub-races,
kind of races. Yeah. 3 new Dragonborn and a Kobold, which I'm quite happy about. Yeah. We also got 3 new feats that are Draconic specific feats,
which are also really good.
Really, really cool. And then 7 new spells, which again specifically dragon themed spells,
but importantly open to everyone.
That's true. Yes, they're not like the racial feats that are tied specifically to Dragonborn. These are feats that literally anybody can take. These are all really cool. Yeah. This has, like we said a while ago, this has pretty much everything you could possibly want in a UA. It's got new races, it's got new spells, and it's got new feats.
Yeah.
It's everything you can need.
It gives you your good core of like, if you really want new Dragonborn stuff, you've got like a nice core of like the races, the feats, and then like if you just wanted some more like dragon themed stuff in your Dungeons and Dragons, then we have all these spells as well. And
if you ever wanted Dungeons and Dragons,
yeah,
this is where you go.
D&D.
Yeah, this is it's great though. I mean, like, so the first 3 things they put in are specific dragon kind of subraces or Dragonborn subraces, which are the Chromatic Dragonborn, the Metallic Dragonborn, and the new Gem Dragonborn, which have been in previous editions but new to 5th edition.
They already kind of existed as well, but they only really existed to like, it was almost like a cosmetic thing, really.
Was it?
Like, I mean, like, Joan, the difference between metallic dragons and metallic dragonborn and chromatic dragonborn.
Oh, well, yeah.
You know, it's just
that's true.
Palette swap, really, of the chromatics.
Yeah, essentially, like you could already pick all of these damage types and color scales and stuff. Although I think if I'm not mistaken, in 5e, or at least in the Forgotten Realms, all Dragonborn are like a muted brassy brown color. People typically will draw them different colors, but I think that canonically they're actually all meant to be the same kind of brown lizard scale color. You know,
that's a bit boring, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never bought into that, to be honest. If you have a particular ancestry, I'm like, yeah, you're bright fucking neon blue, you're bright green, you're whatever color, you know.
You're whatever color you see fit to look like based on what you wear.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before about how I run dragons and by extension Dragonborn in my world. Your dragons aren't always going to be your black dragon is acid, your green dragon is poison, your red dragon is fire. You can be any color you want while also having whatever damage or resistance / breath weapon that you want as well. But there's some great stuff in this.
What a mindfuck would it be if you were a red scale dragonborn but you actually had like white draconic lineage. Like you open your mouth to do your breath weapon, you're like, oh shit, fire, and then just a gust of cold.
Yeah, I love that though. That's part of the reason that I really like it, is because you can absolutely mess with people and be like, you, like, again, you as players who are quite experienced players, a red dragon flies down from the sky and you're like, oh no, watch out for its fire, and I'm like, nah, acid.
Oh god. No.
So I just love I just like keeping you guys on your toes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have the Chromatic Dragonborn, which are more or less similar to Dragonborn as they appear in the player handbook. They have a breath weapon, a couple things different. So you have your black, blue, green, red, white. Each of the associated damage types with the way the dragons function. Each of those is now a 30-foot line, 5 feet wide, and then you make your breath attack. You can do it now. First off, it does 2d8, which I believe is more than what I had before.
Oh yeah, I think it was like a d6. 2d6.
It was something d6 plus
con. Yeah, that was it. It was a d6 plus con.
It was relatively low. Even at low levels, like level 1 and 2, it wasn't particularly effective.
Yeah, I never saw anyone who played Dragonborn in higher level play ever really use it that well, other than like I think like Mike used it once or twice with Shamash, but like it just didn't scale particularly well. So as the higher level you got, it, like you just had better uses of what I think was a bonus action, maybe. It
was never the mechanically I would say mechanically sound or
mechanically
optimal.
satisfying. Yeah. The optimal.
It was never the mechanically optimal thing to do. It was Mike did it a couple times, but he did it in moments where it felt like it was appropriate, but not necessarily the most damaging or beneficial thing in a fight. It now as a base does 2d8, and that scales up as you level. So as your character levels up, that scales up to 3d8 at 5th, 4d8 at 11th, and at 17th level 5d8, which I think is really, really cool. Like, not only that, you can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus.
Yes.
Every game. And on top of that, again, okay, so previously it was action to do like a d6 plus your con, and you can do it once per long rest or short rest.
I think it was a bonus action.
Was it a bonus? I feel like it was a full action. I feel like that was I think we played it as a bonus action, but I do feel like it was a full action to do.
The races page of D&D Beyond.
To the races.
Races to the race page.
And it's the first one to come up as well. Thank you, Dragonborn. Breath weapon. It's 2d6 damage. Oh wait. I'm sorry. What? When did this happen?
What?
Okay, I have my player's handbook here, and I'm going to check this as well, because it's telling me right here that it already scales up, which it does not in my printed version of the player handbook. It has all the damage types. It says short or long rest. When you use a weapon, each creature, you can use your action. So it's an action.
Right.
But it starts at 2d6, and then it scales up to 3 at 6th level, 4 at 11th, and 5 at 16th. And you can't use it again to finish a short or long rest. One second.
I have literally never... Okay, I'm just going to give out, I guess, basically, while Conor has just ran to get his book.
Rolling, Martin.
But yeah, like, I've literally never, ever, like, I've played in... Every game I've played in other than this one, I have had a Dragonborn in the party. No.
Yeah. No, I'm checking it now, and I would put bloody money on it. Okay.
I'm absolutely not beyond the thought that possibly the Dragonborn I've been playing with were wrong.
I don't know how.
It's been like that all the time.
It's been like that. How did we miss this? It's been like that all the time. She's short or long rest. It scales up in the exact. How did we miss this? Well, folks, we're cancelling our D&D podcast because apparently we've missed one of the most fundamental parts of one of the most popular races to play in the game.
If I may make a quick just disclaimer, I've never actually ran a Dragonborn.
I've also never played a Dragonborn either.
You ran one though.
I am the DM. It's my job to know what the monsters can do. You guys got to know what your own characters do. Okay?
I know, that is true. Yeah, so it definitely was just the people we were playing with who were playing Dragonborn.
watch me throw Mike under the bus. I feel like it's more Mike's fault for not knowing that his Dragonborn breath scales up.
Okay, so now that we've revealed our ignorance on the topic of Dragonborn, let's continue to embarrass ourselves.
I feel like we can't talk about dragons anymore, man.
No, fuck it. It's our show. We can do what we want.
I would have lost a lot of bloody money on that.
Yeah.
So okay, fair enough. Well, look, it's more damaging now anyway.
Yeah.
It's gone from 2d6 to 2d8.
I think it scales up at more regular intervals as well, and also it's an attack now rather than action, which is so much better.
It's the same amount of intervals, but it's instead of 6th level, it's 5th, and instead of 16th, it's 17th. So they're basically one is pushed back and one is pushed forward, and then 11th level stays the same. Okay. So it's a weird change of pace, but I don't know. It's nothing wrong with that.
Proficiency bonus, though, yeah.
Proficiency bonus, and also it's the big thing that with it is you can use it as one of your attacks. So if you're a fighter, you can hit someone with a sword and follow up with one of your attacks as this weapon.
Oh my god, imagine like a 20th level Dragonborn fighter action surges and just uses all 6 attacks for breath weapons.
Just a blasting lightning.
Oh my god, that would be so cool.
That'd be really
god.
Okay, so now that let's move on. So Draconic resistance,
which is very much still the same as it is in raw Dragonborns.
Yeah, whatever your damage type for your breath is, you get resistance to that. Nothing different there.
Still
and
very
the way
good.
It changes, still very good. Nothing wrong with that. And this was one thing that actually never, like, because obviously I was completely wrong with the breath works. But because I thought the breath was only, and it's also single use. Keep in mind, it's single use per short rest. I feel like that's, you know.
Oh yeah, I
now
know.
that you can use it more, it's in this anyway. It's way better.
This definitely is better.
I mean, other than the breath weapon, which again was like single use per short rest, not great. And the fact that you get resistance, you know, other creatures get resistance as well. I think Triton have resistance to cold, Tieflings have resistance to fire. There's a few ones out there that get resistance to various types. Why would you bother playing it? Like, there's nothing that was mechanically drawing me to a Dragonborn, even though I love the concept of a big dragon knight. Nothing was particularly drawing me to a Dragonborn to play one as a character.
They made very good paladin. They make very good paladins rather, as they are written, because they get the strength and charisma.
Yeah, charisma and strength, I believe, weren't they?
Yeah, plus 2 plus 1. 2 plus 2 strength plus 1 charisma. So they were perfect. They were perfect ready paladins. I actually have a Dragonborn paladin NPC in my world because they just make sense.
Yeah. Dragonborn are very, very cool. But again, I feel like it's the coolness outweighs the fact that mechanically they weren't the best one in the world. This new ability, specifically Chromatic Dragonborn, get this. At 3rd level, you can use an action to channel your draconic energies and protect yourself. For 10 minutes, you become immune to the damage type associated with your chromatic ancestry.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That, again, we mentioned this a while ago. Imagine strolling into a fight with a red dragon and going, fire breath, is it? Boom, I'm immune to fire. The primary weapon of the dragon you're now facing is useless. Or even going up against a couple of fire elementals, or I don't know, what else? Acid elementals.
If you were a red dragonborn, if you were a red dragonborn barbarian of whatever kind you want, you could basically be immune to or take half damage from every single means of damage that an ancient red dragon has.
Yeah.
Which is nutty. You like if you were a red dragonborn and you just go, okay, cool, we're about to fight an ancient red dragon. I'm level 5. I'm going to become immune to fire and then it just swings over and like breathes fire on you, and you're just like.
I mean, like, okay, here's the thing. You probably wouldn't have the damage output to take down an ancient red dragon.
No, I'm not talking about taking down, but just like in terms of like, you can just like walk through an ancient red dragon's fire breath without making the save and take no damage. It's so.
Take the fire breath is the main thing. You would take 0 damage, and then the claws. I'd have to double check, but I think I want to say like 2d10 or 3d10 or something like that.
They hit hard.
Yeah, but you're also resistant as a barbarian to slashing. Yeah. So that's going to be shrugged off.
I'll be honest, I looked over all the Dragonborn subraces and I was like looking at her and I was like, you could just make the most disgusting tanks from all of these guys. Like, just, oh my god.
So that's the kind of one of the key, other than the breath and the resistance, which I believe all these Dragonborn types get.
They do.
This is the kind of key part of the chromatic one now, is that your breath is a line as opposed to a cone, and also you can become immune to that damage type for 10 minutes, which again,
so good. So good.
That's way more than the single fight. No fight lasts more than 10 minutes. So in game time, not in typically they last a couple hours in real time.
Fight 2 red dragons.
Exactly 11 minutes after you finish off your first red dragon, a second red dragon shows up. But yeah, the second one that we have are metallic dragons. Much of them function the same. They have their damage types associated with the different lineages. Their breath weapon is a cone for some reason. I'm not against that, but I would like the option. If they're going to give you the options of all the different damage types, give me the option to go cone or line as well.
I'd imagine they're doing that to make the races more distinct. Like chromatic or line, the metallic or cones. The gems, I'm not sure. I can't
Gem
remember.
or cone is a cone as well.
Okay.
It scales up same damage though. At the same levels, number of times equal to proficiency. Resistance. The metallics get an additional breath weapon, similar to how actual metallic dragons do. Yeah, I'm really glad, because I always felt like that was a missed opportunity. Because obviously, I think we mentioned this a couple weeks ago when we talked about dragons and how we use them in our world. It's a shame that chromatics don't get some other additional breath weapon as well, because they're the ones you're going to be facing in a fight more often. You know, you don't fight gold dragons as often as you do red dragons.
It's just occurred to me why they do the cone versus line thing, because both sets of dragons have the same resistances. The only differentiation is their color. So they give chromatics a line and metallics a cone to further differentiate the two of them.
That makes sense. Yeah. Because otherwise there isn't other than the third or fourth, whatever, like the chromatic warding, which is the one where you become immune. and the
metallic
breath weapon are really only the only other differentiating factor if you didn't use that.
If I had to take yes, I'd say it. Yeah, probably just to further differentiate things.
Yeah. Again, nothing wrong or broken about it. I would just like the option personally. But,
yeah, and like a cone can be better, and so you might be able to hit more people with a cone as well.
Yeah, it's actually very, very circumstantial. Yeah. But yeah, so this new one it's also a cone. It's an additional breath weapon. You only get it once per long rest.
Yeah.
But it's a specific. You get 2 specific abilities with it. One is the people you hit have to make a strength saving throw or be pushed 20 feet away. That's almost a Fusro Da from Skyrim.
It's so sick.
Which is really, really cool. And then the second one then is they must succeed on a con saving throw or become incapacitated.
Yeah, you can choose one of either.
Oh no, that's what I mean. Yeah, when you use this ability, choose one of the following, and it's either they get knocked back or they get incapacitated till the start of the next time.
I don't know, but I'd be going for option 2 quite a lot more than option 1.
Incapacitated. If you're incapacitated, every melee hit against you is a crit. Yeah.
Crit, yeah.
Well, to see, yes, there's that, but also you could stand on a ledge with someone and Foos rolls out and like straight off a cliff.
That is true.
Which would be very, very satisfying. I had that happen in a game I ran once for Tara's brother and a couple of friends of his, and one of their friends was playing a Ganassi monk, and he had like an 8 strength or whatever. Strength was his dump stat. And I had them fighting some knights and some soldiers from the kingdom that what they were like chasing them, and I had them fighting some of them in the sewers, and there was like basically 2 sides and then 2 adjoining bridges that went over, and they were fighting on one of the bridges, and he was like, can I try and push him into the water below, the fast moving sewer water? And I was like, this is like a knight from the monster manual, so I think they have like a 19 or 18 strength.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can try, but it's unlikely. And he actually succeeded, and the natural push thing only pushes them 5 feet. So she then fell into the water and got whisked away, and that actually ended the fight. It was a really, really
full plate in fast flowing water is a bad way to go.
Sorry,
a full plate armor in fast flowing water is a bad way to die. She
literally it's like a storm drain, and she fell in and it was splash and gone, whisked away. It was honestly, that was the only way he was going to do it. I'm pretty sure one, if not both, of the other people were down in the party. And he the only way he was close to dying because she was hitting with a great sword twice around or something like that.
Jeez, I missed that.
He was pretty light on health. There was no conceivable way he was going to win this unless he pushed her in, and he actually managed to do it, which is a brilliant moment. That's that breath weapon. Up next, we have the gem Dragonborn, which are really, really cool.
Yes.
I saw these in the Kingdoms and not Kingdoms Warfare, Strongholds and Followers book.
Bring in more dope 3.5 shit. Yes.
Yes, please. But Matt Koval had his own version of these.
I saw that. Their breath weapons were nutty, where they actually like breathed like shards of gem at you.
Yeah. This one is really, really cool. A couple things stand out about this. First of all, the damage types are entirely different. So normally you're kind of stuck with the same 5 or 6 damage types with the other Dragonborn, and it's always going to be your acid, lightning, poison, fire, cold. That's the same with chromatics and metallics. Mm-hmm. Now it's amethyst dragons are resistant to and use breath weapons for force. Crystal dragons are radiant. Emerald dragons are psychic. Sapphire dragons are thunder, and topaz dragons are necrotic. I mean,
give me that crystal dragon laser breath, like literally a laser radiant breath. It's right. It's either a laser breath or radiation breath, depending on how you want to skin it.
Is there a cone or a line? Theirs is a cone, so it's almost like turning on a big high intensity flashlight and burning. It's like turning on like sunbed breath. And everyone just gets instant sunburn from the radiant damage.
Well, like I've seen radiant damage be like classified in 2 ways. Either normally like it's like, oh, it's a laser, or like it's literal like radiation.
Yeah.
Which would be like radiation breath. You're Godzilla.
You're essentially Godzilla, yeah. I see lots of people talking shit about that movie online about how it's like, I get that Kong is a big monkey, but also Godzilla is a big lizard who breathes radiation lasers.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Godzilla's gonna win.
Alana Pierce did a great comment that it was like, if you shrunk Godzilla down to the size of a regular Gila monster or iguana or whatever, and still give it the radiation breath, I would still bet on Godzilla.
Yeah. I'm just having this really cool thought of a topaz dragonborn with necrotic resistance and necrotic breath, playing that new monk subclass.
Which one?
1 second now.
Astral Self?
No, the other one, the one that you can take health away from people. Not Long Death. Mercy, Way of Mercy. Because they have ability to like pull, like do necrotic damage, I think, and then they also that'd be really cool because you'd be this bright yellow topaz dragon, and you'd hit someone, and suddenly their arm goes black from necrotic energy and stuff. They're really, really cool.
These purely because it just has necrotic listed there, and it's like there was a thing in some of the Brent Weeks books I was reading where basically the mages who could use color magic, when some of them went mad, they became like what were called color whites, which were these like insane, very powerful like mages who would have these specific colors, and based on the color that they had gone mad using, they would have like a different emotional state. And the topaz one, because it's listed as necrotic, immediately started going like, oh, a topaz like necrotic villain would be cool. And like so in that series, when blue whites go mad, blue magic is like crystalline, like glassy kind of when it's created. And when they go mad, they start to slowly replace all their skin with that crystalline material. That's called Luxon.
It's like armored, like German.
Oh yeah, it's like crystal armor. And I just had this image of like, just you could meet him multiple times, and each time you see him, like more and more the villain is like replaced with just topaz rather than like dragon scale.
Yeah,
slowly becomes like full on topaz humanoid.
I've mentioned this before, just about like if someone came to me and said, particularly Thunder, because I think Thunder is really, really cool to like shout, sound damage at someone. But I've always said it'd be really, really cool just to have any of these additional damage types on a Dragonborn or even on a dragon. So I'm really, really happy that they've included it here. It's the same damage output. It's a cone, the same as the metallics, and you use it a number of times equal to your proficiency. Regain on a short rest, long rest. Same diff. You get this additional resistance from that as well, which we mentioned before the podcast. If you play a totem barbarian who's resistant to everything except psychic, but then you pick Emerald Dragon, you're still resistant to psychic.
Yeah.
So you take half damage from everything.
And your DM will hate making fights for you.
It would be so good. They also get telepathy, that they can speak to any creature within 30 feet. You have to share a language, but the other creature cannot speak back. You can speak at them. They cannot respond to you. But still, that's really, really cool just to get inherently from your race. Few enough races have that.
Very cool.
I think that there's a halfling.
Did Githyanki get that?
No, they get like Mage Hand and a couple other things naturally, I think, but they don't get telepathy. And then the third level ability, and this is the kind of standout one, is they get Gem Flight, which, to be honest, probably needs a better name. But they basically, they can summon, spectral. How's this phrase? Temporarily summon an array of spectral gems that match your gem's ancestry in the shape of wings that last for 1 minute. And you gain a fly speed equal to your walking speed. I always love when this equal to your walking speed, because then you can use other feats of plastic stuff to bump it out.
Haste.
Haste, exactly, or haste, or also just giving someone like being a monk, playing any sort of gem dragonborn monk. Your speed naturally goes up, and then all of a sudden you've got fucking 70 feet of fly speed just naturally. For a minute, though, again, a minute's like a full fight. So that's really, really cool. And then once you use the straight, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest.
I really like how it's described. I think from what it was, it sounds like you activate this, and then like literally like a shout, like just a horde of spectral gems appear and then form themselves into these like giant, like ghostly gem encrusted dragon wings, which is so cool.
It's really, really cool. I think Gem Dragonborn is maybe in the cards for me.
Yeah, I was thinking of a few different Dragonborns. I was like, yeah, I'm not playing a tank next game I'm playing, but maybe the game after that I'm gonna play a Dragonborn Paladin.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Again, I'm just looking at like that Emerald, having a psychic breath ability and then playing like a Cyanite. I think just the whole brand of being super, super psychic stuff then is really, really cool. Next, we have a revision for the Kobold, which I like. I think kobolds are really cool. I make them like Jawas in my world, and I love that about them. I think they're a really cool little monster because they're the of your kind of really, really low level creatures like goblins and bullywugs and kobolds and I don't know what else. What are the other really small shrimpy races that you throw at a level 1 party?
Jeez, I don't know. Bandits.
Just generic bandits. Yeah, I mean, of all of them, kobolds are the clever ones. They're weak, but they know they're weak, so they band together and they set traps and stuff like that. And I think that makes for a really, really interesting early level encounter. Especially if it's a new D&D group and you kind of want to teach them the idea of checking for traps and stuff like that, put them up against some kobolds.
They'll learn quick.
They will learn quick. So this new kobold has a lot of the same stuff. Size, speed, dark vision is all the same. They do not have sunlight sensitivity, which I like a lot, because I feel like sunlight sensitivity is just a bit... I don't know. This is my opinion. I feel like, we talked about this a while ago, I feel like a lot of people don't play Drow and a lot of people don't play kobolds for the very explicit reason that sunlight sensitivity is a big detriment to your functionality, you know? I've known people to ignore sunlight sensitivity. I've known people to play... we had a player in our first campaign who was only there for a couple sessions, but he started playing a Drow. I told him straight from the get-go, because I didn't like sunlight sensitivity, I'm like, look, you're a Drow, but you lived on the surface for a long time, which was in his backstory. So I figure you're probably accustomed to it now. And if you really wanted to, you know, average out the thing, a Drow obviously get like enhanced dark vision, where it's 120 feet of dark vision. You could always just say, look, you got the standard 60 feet, but you don't have sunlight sensitivity, and I feel like that's balancing things out
that's fair.
nicely. So they also have a new thing, these kobolds. They do not have sunlight sensitivity, but they have a thing called Draconic Legacy.
They also have a new thing that I don't think they had before, or correct me if I'm wrong, where they have dark vision now, because Dragonborn don't have dark vision.
Dragonborn don't, but kobolds do.
Yeah,
Kobold standard kobold had dark vision.
Oh, sorry, I've just really not used kobolds a lot, so I'm
that's fine.
I find that strange. I find that strange though, but I suppose it makes sense because kobolds do almost exclusively live underground,
in tunnels and stuff. Little warrens.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
They do have a thing here where, so they've kind of changed the style of them. So this particular kobold, right, the Draconic Legacy thing gives you one of the following abilities when you select the race. So you have one unique feature that you kind of carry on. You have advantage on saving throws to avoid being frightened or ending a frightened effect on yourself.
I love that, because you're just naturally such cowards.
That's the thing. It's completely polar opposite to the previous kobold. So there's that. But I mean, like, other kobolds have a thing called grovel, cower, beg, where you can cower pathetically to distract nearby foes. At the end of your next turn, all your allies gain advantage on attack rolls against enemies within 10 feet that can see you. So you basically go, no, don't hit me. And then, like, all your allies get advantage as a result. But then this is the polar opposite of that, where it's like, nah, I'm tough. I'm going to be a barbarian kobold. I'm going to charge on into the fray or something, you know?
Barbarian kobold, bane of shins everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They call me the kneecapper.
What's your name? Shin Splints.
Shin Splints. I really want to play Shin Splints as a character now. So there's the next option you get is one cantrip of your choice from the sorcerer spell list. But they let you pick which, whether you want intelligence, wisdom, or charisma to be your spellcasting ability.
Cool.
That's pretty cool, because if you were playing like a kobold wizard or a kobold cleric or something like that, it's nice that you can make it match your typical spellcasting ability.
What are the cantrips that sorcerers get, actually? They're pretty good if I remember. Yeah, they get like most of them, don't they?
They get most of the same that wizards do, I believe.
I'm on it at the moment.
And the last one they get, which is a bit of an odd one, but it's you can make unarmed strikes with your tail.
That's cool.
When you hit with it, the strike deals a d6 plus your strength mod, bludgeoning damage instead of bludgeoning damage normal for your unarmed strike. That's phrased weirdly to me.
You get a lot of really good cantrips if you can choose from the just looking through.
It's just sorcerer. But sorcerer
just sorcerer. There are 2 pages worth of cantrips you can choose from, including things like booming blade, where you got booming blade, frostbite. Infestation, lightning lure, mind slivers in there as well. On the second page there's some nutty ones as well. Where is it? Sword burst is in there too. Some really good stuff you can pick. Mold earth, which would be really appropriate for Kobold?
Tunneling out an area. Yeah, absolutely. So you basically get an additional d6 plus your strength mod attack you can do with your tail. Personally, I think that's a bit because you could. It's not the best thing in the world.
But if you made a really beefy kobold with like 20 strength, you
like
could
20
wreck
strength.
someone with your tail. Imagine like a tail like this long, just taking like a full-grown person out like off their feet, like
taking the legs out from under them.
like Karate Kid said, sweep the leg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's okay, but I just feel like it's a bit of a weird one. The other two are more interesting to me, but it's interesting.
It does say you can, so it's a choice at least. I love it though. I love it. I want to turn my kobold into a Beyblade. Let's go.
He just starts what's it called? The windmill, the kind of breakdancing move. When he's just spinning around and the tail is going whack 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 whack.
No, just standing pirouette. So it's like a living weed whacker.
The next ability, the last ability of the kobolds then is Draconic Roar. So as a bonus action, you let out a Draconic Roar to all enemies within 10 feet of you until the end of your next turn. You and your allies have advantage on attack rolls against any of those enemies who can hear the roar. You can use the trade a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all use when you finish a long rest. That's really, really interesting because, again, that seems like in such blatant opposition to what kobolds were represented as previously, because this is like you, instead of being like you're cower
good
and beg and
frontliner.
grovel. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty solid as
like if you just statted this out appropriately, like you could make a really, really solid frontline fighter as a kobold.
Yeah. The one thing they don't get, which the other one, I mean, it's good and it's bad, is the other one had pack tactics incorporated into the race, which is good.
Yeah.
But also they had sunlight sensitivity, which I feel like.
But like Draconic Roar is basically pack tactics.
But it's funny but you have to use it as a.
Oh yeah.
Action.
Bonus action though. Like it's the same function. Like all of your allies have advantage on attack rolls against allies who could hear the roar. Like this would actually
pair quite well with a fighter samurai, because they get the ability where they can take a bonus action to gain advantage on all their melee attacks.
Yeah.
So you're essentially kind of getting more uses that also affect your allies within range. So that could be a fantastic upfront kobold samurai.
I was just thinking, like, it's such a shame that, like, I understand why the rule is there, but, like, do you know the way you can't use, like, two-handed weapons if you're a size small?
You can use two-handed. You can't use ones that are marked as heavy.
Yeah. Sorry, you can't use heavy. So, like, I just had a vision of, like, the tiniest kobold using the biggest greatsword.
Proper buster sword.
Like it's so small, it looks like the sword is just swinging itself around, and in like Ant-Man style, it looks like the sword is swinging itself around. The camera pans in and you see this tiny thing at the end of this giant sword just swinging it around the place.
There's if you ever watch Ruby,
yes,
the Rooster thing, there's a girl in that who has a hammer. It's a grenade launcher slash hammer.
The Penny?
No, Penny's the robot, I think.
Oh yeah.
But it's one of the girls in that. But she's really kind of dainty and small, and this is a fucking warhammer that you'd see like your man from Overwatch, Reinhardt wielding. Yeah. But like the way she fights with it is that she kind of pirouettes, or she kind of like pivots around the hammer instead of the hammer pivoting around her, and she kind of like uses that as a way to like propel the hammer around the place and stuff like that. That's like one of her moves is she'll stand on the hammer and she'll fire the grenade launcher portion of it, and it will rocket her across the map. Or the map.
That's how Thor used to fly back in the like 60s. It was like he couldn't actually fly. He would just swing the hammer really, really fast and then and let it take him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they essentially still did that for most of the cinematic universe. They kind of made it look like that was how he was flying. I mean, you know what I was saying? He said it in Ragnarok. He's like, my hammer would pull me off. Oh my god, your hammer would pull you off.
But like, he can fly without it.
Can he fly without it?
Oh yeah. The entirety of the end of Ragnarok.
I always figured he was just. Maybe this is me overthinking things. I always figured he was just like using the lightning to ionize the air around him. That like the lightning would force him up, or
no, he can fly without the hammer. He's like stupid broken without the hammer, and then you put the hammer on him and like, oh, okay, this is just dumb now. Which is why I love him.
But I mean, like, well, Thor has a lot of that though. Like Thor, even like as strong as he is, has a specific belt
the Mega Yord.
Yeah, which doubles his strength. Because the first thing that you need as Thor is to double your fucking strength.
Yeah, you were already bred to be the strongest man in the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about feats.
I was just going to go on through it. So there's 3 feats, one for each of the dragon types. The first one is Gifted of Chromatic Dragon. This essentially gives you the ability to cast Elemental Weapon.
Yes, which is very cool.
It actually says simple or martial weapon, and infuse it with one of the following damage types, and it's your standard.
This is almost more like I think this is probably more akin to the Hemocraft that a Bloodhunter can do.
Similar, yeah. It's a D4 damage, which is a bit less, but I mean, like it's.
But
it's
you don't have to damage yourself for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, that could work quite well
with a Bloodhunter.
Yeah, if you wanted to double up, you could go bonus action, Hemocraft, use your Crimson Right, and on the next round bonus action and get an additional D4. So you're getting a D6 and a D4,
and you could take
on top of your longsword or whatever,
and then just take the Crimson Rights that are opposing to whatever element that you naturally have, so that you have all your bases covered.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. You even get a couple of different Crimson Rights to begin with. You get 2 types.
Yeah, and then as you level up, you get access to Esoteric Rights that are like rated at Roar, rated at it's like Thunder, Necrotic, and Psychic.
Yes, and if you pick the Ghost Slayer, you get Radiant specifically for Ghost Slayer.
Yeah, so you could do some crazy shit with Bloodhunter and then D's Dragonborn.
Yeah, I didn't think actually this isn't even a specific race. This is just we said it already. These are feats that literally any race or any one can take. They're not tied specifically to Dragonborn. So you can take that, and that you can use once a long rest.
They actually have a really cool shout out that I want to just read out here because it's related to what you were talking about there. When this mastery arises from a draconic source, whether it's the gift of a true dragon, the manifestation of some draconic heritage, the blessing of a draconic god, or as a consequence of slaying a true dragon, it can have dramatic supernatural effects. So those are all like multiple ways you could put in your game of giving someone, you could do such a cool thing. Are you familiar with the myth of Fafnir and Sigurd?
I know who Sigurd is. I don't know who Fafnir is.
Fafnir is the dragon he kills.
Go on.
So
you'll need to elaborate for the audience.
Yeah, so
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, great. Sorry. Yeah, but basically,
he's
a Sigurd. He goes and he finds Fafnir's cave, and Fafnir's guarding like a massive treasure hoard, and whatever. But he kills Fafnir, and when he kills him, he bathes in his blood, and it makes his skin impenetrable. Except for I think it's like a leaf or something gets stuck like right here, and he doesn't see. So when he bathes in the dragon,
Achilles.
Yeah,
that's almost the exact same myth as Achilles.
Oh, is that? Yeah, except it was with Achilles. It's the heel his mother held him by in the river Styx.
Yeah.
But yeah,
very cool though.
Very cool. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Yeah, you could like. Oh, I would so like if one of my don't do it now, guys. But if one of my players killed a true dragon and I want to bathe in its blood, I give like. If you want to like lie in this dragon's blood for like 8 hours, I would give serious thought to maybe giving a gift.
Ability.
Yeah. It would be late game. Like I wouldn't introduce this. I don't think I'd introduce these early game necessarily because they're quite powerful.
I don't think they're too broke. I mean, they're good. They're very good, but I don't know if they're actually broken.
But I'd say
the second
5 to 10 is when I'd introduce these. I think.
Yeah. Personally, I would not have any problem, but I mean, it's your game. Don't let me tell you what to do. I mean, like a D4 isn't hugely beneficial. It's good, especially early levels, but it's not broken good.
That's
in fact, I would almost make an argument for introducing that. Okay, so let me just get this out first of all, because I'm trying to say it like 4 times. So you get that D4 is one thing you can do. Mm-hmm. The second part of that Chromatic Dragon gift is that if you take Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, Poison, you can use a reaction to give yourself resistance to that. That's basically the Absorb Element spell without the ability to do additional element damage back. You can do that a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, which is brilliant. I mean, that's 6 uses of Absorb Element, sort of, by the time you get to level 17.
Yeah.
I would almost make a case for this being something I would have no problem with anyone taking at level 1, simply because I feel like a D4 is not mechanically broken in terms of damage, and also because I feel like having damage taken when you're an incredibly squishy level 1, 2, 3 character, if it increases your survivability and I don't have to go, live with the guilt of accidentally killing a character 2 levels in, I'm fine with it.
a slight wrinkle for your hypothesis there. What if it was someone who's playing a chromatic dragon from this? Because then you would have your resistance, you would have the immunity. You could have your immunity, and then bonus action you can imbue the weapon with any of those 4, and then you can also just use your reaction to gain resistance to any other. So you could be immune and resistant to a specific type, and then you use a reaction to gain resistance to any of those other 4.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like there's certain things I feel like players could definitely
also
build a very, very resilient character by doing this. I wouldn't necessarily think it was game breaking to the point where I would interject and go, no, you can't pick that feat,
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I would just be wary. I think I would just be wary about introducing these at like level 1, but like it's a little bit later. Like I said, like level 5 afterwards, I would be like totally. Because I think
most games, unless you play a human variant, you're going to be getting these at level 4.
True. Yeah, that's true. Level 4.
It wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about him. It's just something I'm like that's powerful. Like,
I mean, like a D4 is not a lot of damage. I don't feel like damage output wise. I mean, it's additional on average. It's additional 2.5 damage, on average per attack.
Yeah.
But again, it lasts for a minute.
Oh, like I just no. Look, ignore me. I'm just being weird.
Actually, for the next minute, yeah. So it lasts for a minute. It's one fight in your adventuring day to get some extra damage. Don't get me wrong. If you picked a chromatic dragon from this thing and then got the immunity to fire, resistance to fire normally, and immunity afterwards for 1 minute a day or whatever, and then you have to be at least level 3 for that because the immunity doesn't come in until level 3.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
So you're definitely talking level 3 or 4 before this comes in.
Ignore like everything I said.
I put a wrinkle in your wrinkle, sir.
Don't. That sounds weird. Don't say that.
Moving swiftly along. Yes.
So gifted a metallic dragon.
The gifted metallic. So you learn Cure Wounds. You can cast it once without spending a spell slot, and then if you have more spell slots, you can also just continue casting it.
I really like that because it's tied to metallic. I think that's there because metallic dragons are generally good aligned, and I like that.
Yeah. I also like that. I like things that just give you kind of like, this is an interesting way that you could play like a Dragonborn wizard though, because it also says the same thing as before. Intelligence, wisdom, or charisma can be your spellcasting one, which I think is really, really cool that they give you the option. So you could be a wizard that can cast Cure Wounds. In theory, actually, that would make you a very effective wizard healer.
Yeah.
Because wizards get all up to 9th level spell slots, and they can even recharge some of their spell slots using their arcane recovery on a short rest.
Yeah.
And intelligence is your spellcasting modifier for this Cure Wounds. You can get one free use, and then everything after that is like, no, and I'll just keep spamming all these additional ones with my many spell slots.
Here, I have a 7th level Cure Wounds.
Exactly, but I mean, you could,
totally.
I mean, really, I know there's a lot of different healing spells out there, but really, as long as
Cure Wounds is the daddy, and then heal is what you do after Cure Wounds gets born when you're like level 18.
Yeah, or mass healing word is very good as well. But I feel like Cure Wounds is like the backbone of all healing.
Totally. Cure Wounds or healing word.
Yeah, or healing word if you need the range. Yeah, absolutely. The next ability to get in this as well is you manifest protective. This is the metallic dragon one again. You manifest protective wings that you can shield others from attacks. When you or another creature within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to manifest spectral wings from your back at that moment. Roll a d4 and grant a bonus to the target's AC to the number rolled against your attack roll, potentially causing it to miss. You can use this reaction a number of times, equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all the expended uses when you finish a long rest. Again,
I love it.
I love the new trend that's coming out of tying things to your proficiency bonus because they scale up nicely with the character. Rolling a d4, that's not quite a shield, but it's potential to be close to a shield in terms of its effectiveness for blocking damage. I would say shield the spell, not shield the item.
That's pretty solid though. Like if you get a 4 on that, like I'm running something similar at the moment with my bait and switch with Lug, and that gives you add a d6. Like I roll a d6 and add that to my, and like I did that like 2 or 3 sessions ago, and like Wabu ended up with like 24 armor class for a turn.
Yeah, it was really, really good though. I mean, like, and this is how long does that last? Roll number, miss. I think it's just for that attack, so it's not like shield where it lasts until the start of your next turn or something like that.
It's like a combination of shield and the ancestral barbarian spirit shield.
A little bit, yeah. It's interesting though because this idea of the gift of the metallic dragons, I could in a proper, I believe in the Forgotten Realms they worship Bahamut. The platinum dragon. If you were playing a dragon, a metallic, like a silver dragonborn or something like that, or even any knight, any paladin of Bahamut as your god, as your deity, taking this metallic dragon gift is perfect. You get cure wounds just without having to waste one of your other spell choices for that. One free cast of it, and then you get to summon these protective wings, which I think kind of encompasses the idea of Bahamut being the protecting, super healing, good dragon. You know. Really, really cool. Really like that. And then there is the Gem Dragon. So this one lets you increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1. That's great for pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
And then they essentially give you what is Hellish Rebuke, but with force damage. So when you're hit with a creature attack within 10 feet, you can use your reaction to emanate telekinetic energy. The creature that dealt the damage to you must succeed a strength saving throw equal to 8 plus proficiency plus ability. Plus the ability modifier of the score you increase, so whatever you
8 plus proficiency plus spellcasting modifier.
Yeah, essentially. Or take 2d8 force damage and be pushed 10 feet away from you.
Yeah, that's so good.
You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all affinity uses when you finish the long rest. That is, like, tieflings get a single use per short rest of... I'll double check now. They get like a single use of Hellish Rebuke at 2nd level per... I want to say it's per short rest, but I mean that's way better because not only is it not fire damage, it's force damage.
Yeah.
It's 2d8 as well. Let me just have a look here. Hellish. Here it is. When you reach 3rd level, you can cast Hellish Rebuke. It's a 2nd level spell once with this ability, and you regain the ability to do so on a long rest.
Ooh.
So I believe a Hellish Rebuke at 2nd level is going to be 3d8 if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
3d10 it would end up being.
Yeah.
So 3d10 fire damage or 2d8 force damage, potentially 5 or 6 times when you're at higher levels.
And a 10
really,
feet push.
really good.
And a 10 feet push.
And a 10-foot push as well. Yeah, that's I know it's a feat, but I'm just saying that's substantially better than your typical Hellish Rebuke. Really, really good. I would love to have that. I could see myself taking that even if I was, again, play a Dragonborn Cyanite. You know, double down on all those psychic abilities. Take this as well. Oh, you'd have a really, really formidable Psy Dragon, Emerald Dragon. I think it was for psychic damage. It was.
Yeah, Emerald is psychic. Cool.
I just think that'd be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, those are the 3 feats. Only 3 feats, but there's one for each of the types of dragon, which is really, really cool. I think all of those are absolute winners.
Yeah. All of them very much feel worth the use of your ASI.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't feel like you're being, exactly. Yeah. So, sometimes you pick a feat, we talked about this last week. Sometimes you pick a feat and you feel like, oh, I like this, but maybe is it worth me not having a bump to my strength or to my intelligence or whatever?
Yeah.
I feel like in this case, it's very much worth it, all 3 of those. I think you read the spells a lot more than I did. But there's some pretty cool spells here. One that stood out to me was Flame Stride, which basically lets you move. For the duration, your speed increases with 20 feet, which is duration is a minute. When you move within 5 feet of a creature or object that isn't being worn or carried, it takes a d6 fire damage, no save whatsoever, as you get close to them. A creature can only take this damage once per round, though. But I mean, if you do something like the if you take the dodge action, so you disadvantage all your opportunity attacks, and then you just start running circles around all the enemies.
The movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks.
Oh, forget I said anything. You can just without expending your action every single turn, you can just run between all the various enemies on the field and do a d6 damage to each of them.
If you're fighting like a formation of soldiers, you could like run in between all of them, just like run in between all of them, then run or circle around all of them.
Yeah, I mean that's really, really cool. I think it's a really cool idea.
Such Flash vibes from that spell.
Oh yeah. But instead of lightning, it's
like
the trail of fire,
like the Flash running the other way around a tornado to make it stop.
Yeah. In the show, there was one time in the show where there was a tidal wave
Yes.
heading for the city, and he literally ran in a straight line back and forth like that, and created some sort of like air pocket.
Yeah, it was like a wind barrier.
Like a wind barrier, and the tidal wave collided with it, and then just kind of like collapsed into nothing, and the city was completely unharmed.
Which is, I'm not sure that's how physics works, but we'll go with it because it's a superhero show.
I don't think I watched The Flash for the physics.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
There's another one that's also Draconic Transformation.
This one is so strong, and I really love
it. So you basically gain the following benefits.
I love the components as well, if you want to read them out.
So it's verbal, somatic material. The material component you need is a statuette of a dragon worth at least 500 gold pieces, which is very, very cool.
Yeah.
You activate it as a bonus action. So you blind sight out to a range of 30 feet. And within that range, you can effectively see anything that isn't behind total cover. Even if you're blinded or in darkness, moreover, you can see invisible creatures unless the creature successfully hides from you. You get incorporeal wings sprout from your back, giving you a 40 feet fly speed. When you cast a spell as a bonus action on subsequent turns for the duration, you can exhale a breath of shimmering energy that's a 30-foot cone, which is substantially more than the standard Dragonborn one. Each creature within the area must make a dexterity saving throw or take 3d8 force damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Again, so cool. That's a 7th level spell, but an understandably 7th level spell, because that's a bonus action on each turn to do a big blast, a big cone of blasting force energy. You can still use your action to cast any other spell or cantrip and be doing it, and be hovering above the ground as well.
Hell yeah! I said this to you before we actually started recording, but like, for anyone watching this who's like a fairy tale fan, if you wanna be your fairy tale style dragon slayer magic, there's a bunch of stuff in this UA that, like, just if you were to do this and then like maybe multi-class into, like, do you remember the Draconic Monk that came out a short while ago? It was like Way of the Dragon Monk. Like, I'm
assuming that's going to drop in some book with the rest of this stuff, and I'm looking forward to that.
I wouldn't. Yeah, it seems like they're building up maybe like a Draconic book or something again like that. But yeah, that's so sick.
Maybe we'll get like something akin to a Volo's Guide, because Volo's Guide obviously had a lot of races in it, and then it had like explanations for how to run certain monster types, and I feel like they've given us a lot of dragon stuff between classes, feats, spells, stuff like that. So they're definitely rare enough for something dragon based at Wizards.
We've got a good bit of Fae stuff as well.
We got a lot of Fae stuff as well. So I'm interested to see if they'll do it. Maybe a Volo's Guide, but instead of going like Beholders, Hobgoblins, Kobolds in terms of what they cover, they'll go running dragons, running Fae, running, I don't know, underwater encounters, whatever's to come next, or whatever we're going to pair up with it. But I'd like to see something like that, where they kind of go, here's running all stuff dragons, here's running all stuff Fae. I said it before, I really want the Fae stuff. I want to give a long multiple page paragraph or chapter in a book similar to Volo's Guide, where they go into great detail about the various courts and stuff like that, because I think that'd be super cool.
I'm gonna get a quick mention into what's easily my favorite spell in this, just because it's so cool. We were talking about this before. That's Relithim's Psychic Lance. The 4th level enchantment spell takes an action to cast and has a 120 foot range, and all you need for components are vision. You unleash a shimmering lance. Dependable. You unleash a shimmering lance of psychic power from your forehead at a creature that you can see within range. And this is where it gets really, really cool. Alternatively, you can utter the creature's name. If the name target is within range, that's 120 feet, which is a big range. It gains no benefit from cover or invisibility as the lance homes in on it. If the name target isn't within range, the lance dissipates and the spell slot is not extended. So if you're fighting, like I was saying this earlier, if you're fighting a dragon, lots of dragons can either cast darkness or invisibility. Either way, you can't see them. You can just go, oh, I can't see you, but I know your name. And you just go like, boom, like Smaug, and this mental lance just like shoots out and finds it wherever it is within 120 feet. It hits like a truck as well. Target must succeed on an intelligence save or take 10d6 psychic damage and be incapacitated until the start of your next turn. So if you do
that's a 4th level spell at 10d6 psychic.
I almost guarantee that if you use this on a creature with a legendary resistance and they fail, you will use a legendary resistance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because again, virtually nothing is resistant to psychic.
But the incapacitated though, like, geez, if you have a wizard that has this, and the wizard rolls high in initiative, and then the rest of the party follows, and like say it goes like wizard, dragon, rest of the party, you cast this, the dragon fails the save, it's now taken 10d6 psychic damage, which it probably doesn't have resistance to unless it's an emerald dragon, and then it's incapacitated until the start of your next turn, which is the whole way back in the initiative order. So it can't go on its go, and then the entire party goes, and the entire party gets auto crits if they melee attack it.
Do you know what this is? This is a legendary resistance burner.
Yeah, it's a nuke.
Because if I'm running a monster, I do not see a situation where let's assume, because again, intelligence is not something most creatures have super high stats in. If I'm running a dragon, a lich, so my liches would have high int, but anyway, like whatever monster I'm running, there's a very slim chance I'm going to allow my monster to be incapacitated for a full turn. You know, or also take 10d6 psychic damage.
That's nothing to sniff at either. Like 10d6 is a lot.
I will say it's very like disintegrate in that it doesn't have a half damage thing. You either take the 10d6 and are incapacitated, or you're completely unaffected. But I mean, if you guys use a spell like this on a monster, a boss monster, or something I was running ANC, I would almost certainly burn a legendary, because there's no way in hell I'm giving you a full round of crit attacks because my baddie's incapacitated.
And like as well then, because like if this hits, right, say it's
a 4th level spell, you could do this so many times in a fight, depending on like once you get to like, I don't know, 10th level plus, you could do this so many times in a fight.
Yeah, it also gets an extra d6 damage for each level you cast it at above 4th.
That's me. Is this broken? Is this not broken?
Well, consider, like, I think it's broken if you know the creature's name.
Yeah, I feel like, well, okay. Here's the thing. I feel like boss encounter wise, I mean, how many boss encounters did you go into where you did not know the boss's name? I'm gonna wager few enough. Yeah. Because for our audio listeners, Bart just made a 0 with his hand.
Yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, I feel like you're gonna almost always know the creature's name. That's super beneficial. If you don't even have line. Here's the thing: you don't need line of sight. You could be in total cover. It's not even about them hiding. You could be hiding. You could be in the previous room.
You could be not in the air. You could, like, if it's a dragon and it's its lair, you don't want to go in the lair, you could stand outside the lair, and as long as the lair isn't 120 feet or longer, you could literally stand there, not look at the dragon and be like, Smaug, and then they just goes shoom, and into the cave and finds it.
Yeah. That's really again, it's really good. It's a 4th level, but I'm thinking
it's really good.
I'm thinking, should this be 5th or 6th? Should it be more akin to a disintegrate? Because that's like, again, 10d6 is a ton of damage, and psychic.
You know who's going to want this spell,
yeah? Mike's not allowed this spell.
No, not Mike.
Dan?
Psychic lance that homes in on its target for Arkham. Oh, of course, he's going to want that.
Well, he'll just have to hope it makes it to a printed book, because that's what I run in this campaign. Sorry, when I think of someone using magic to break my world, I think of Mike.
Yeah, that's fair. I completely understand.
This is like the 3rd week in a row we've called Mike out on the podcast, by the way.
Yeah, but he told me he was chatting. I was chatting to him and he was loving it. Like, so he just loves the attention.
But I mean, 10d6. Okay, 10d6, regardless of the damage type, is a lot of damage. It's psychic damage. That's an even bigger deal. Not only that, if you fail an intelligence, again, not a lot of things have proficiency in intelligence saves. So if you do fail that, not only are you taking 10d6 psychic damage, which you're almost certainly not resistant to, you're also incapacitated until the start of, well, it's until
into the start of the caster's next turn.
To the start of the caster's next turn.
Yeah.
That means that, again, depending on how many of you there are, but again, you could assume 3 other people minimum most of the time in the party, because usually it's 4 people. That's a full round of fighters going up and going stab, both crits. A paladin going up and going stab, both crits. 3rd level smites.
Yeah, try a 5th level smite there.
Yeah,
that's an auto crit.
Burning all their high level smites on those 2 hits because you're just on the ground completely unconscious. A rogue going up and getting automatic crits and getting all those d6s.
An assassin rogue? Oh god.
I mean, like, you don't even need the assassin because if you're incapacitated, your advantage, and and it's a crit because you're incapacitated. So I mean, like,
it's a really, really good spell.
The spell is good, and then there's all the knock-on damage of the additional effects that will come afterwards. That is just.
I feel like this is very much up there with your disintegrate. This is the fuck you button. Like,
I feel like this is a lower level equivalent to power word kill. This is the big fuck you spell. Like, if I use this on one of you guys, you'd hate me. You'd hate me. Like, I think 4th level is just too low for me. I love the spell. I think it's really, really cool. I think 4th level, and I love the naming thing because we said this already. It's very like Name of the Wind, where you use naming magic, and if you know the true name of something, you can command it or whatever, or you have power over it.
Yeah,
I love that.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if in the actual printed version of this, that gets maybe scaled up to like base 5th level, and you get a d6 for every level you cast that higher than 5th.
I would even go as far as 6. I think it's on par with disintegrate. Even though disintegrate is more damage, I feel like the additional effects of then being incapacitated for a whole round.
Here's the thing, though, huge. With disintegrate, if you take someone to 0 disintegrate, it's an instant death and they can't be revived. If you take someone to 0 with this, they're just similar rules apply.
Oh yeah, but I mean, again, I feel like what's the damage on disintegrate? Is it like 10?
It's 10d10 force damage plus 40, isn't it?
Oh, it is plus 40.
Like,
oh man,
10d10 plus 40, and then what's this one do?
10d6 psychic. I mean, I feel like both psychic and force are the two damage types that very few things are resistant to. So I feel like the damage types are kind of on par.
But I feel like the scale, like at D, like, okay, right. If I go, you're right, you take 3d6 fire damage, you're like, oh shit, that's gonna hurt. If you go, you are gonna take 3d10 fire damage, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know?
1 second, I just need to check. Disintegrate.
It's
10d. Actually, no, it's the same damage. Bar the 40, it's 10d6 as well, but it's not the plus 40 on top. So it is okay. So are we assuming in that case, if I'm wizards and I'm designing this spell and I'm designing it based on it being somehow equivalent to disintegrate, it does the exact same damage except it's psychic, and I'm thinking,
it does not do the exact same damage.
If you have a rogue or a paladin, or a fighter who can hit multiple times in a party.
Point out the part of that spell where the initial spell says plus 40 damage.
I mean, I'm thinking a rogue. Okay, you need to be. It's a 4th level spell, right?
I understand where you're coming from, and you're right.
You want to,
and you're right. You're right. But the thing is, right?
Wait. Say that right one more time.
No. But the thing is with this, right? Even if you're incapacitated, you still have a chance of rolling a 1. So there's still a chance to fail with that damage, is what I'm saying, right?
But you have advantage.
Yes, but you can still roll 2 1s, or you can roll a 1 and a 2. I get what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Connor, how many times has it happened in every game we've played, though? Right? What I'm saying is, like, it is really strong, but I still don't think it's as strong as a disintegrate, as a single, like, nah, you're gone, bye-bye.
Again, okay, I will say this: the fact that if you drop someone to 0, their body, you can't revive them, big deal, big deal, right? But I'm just saying, not in terms of but in terms of just getting someone to 0, in terms of just the amount of damage you can do, right? I'm thinking 10d6 is 10d6. I think psychic and force are, like I said, they're 2 of the damage types that not a lot of people have resistance to. They're 2 of the ones that are going to do a lot of damage, and people don't want to get hit by them because, like, again, no one's resistant to that. Except the Dragonborn in this class. But the 40 damage it'd be 7th level for you to get a 4th level spell, right? If the whole party is at 7th level, do you think a rogue at 7th level getting to do sneak attack, or a paladin at 7th level getting to do smite, and who's almost certainly going to crit on one of his attacks, do you think in a full round of combat they would do more than 40 damage? I think they would.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair.
That's where I'm coming from. I think that what they would do. Again, it's very class dependent and stuff. You know, you could have someone who isn't that, but I feel like if you're going to be rolling paladins or rogues or any of the big heavy hitters, and they crit. Again, a paladin can crit twice because they'll have double extra attack by then.
Yeah.
A rogue, again, is almost certainly going to hit. Also, it's an intelligence save as well. Disintegrates a dex save. Way more things are better at dex saves than are at intelligence saves.
This is true.
I think this definitely needs to be a 6th level spell. I think this needs to be a 6th. I love it, but I think it needs to be a 6th level spell.
5th I would go with.
We'll have to disagree. We'll have to cancel the podcast, Martin. I can't work under these conditions.
That's grand, man. When you're not looking, I'll just say your name and there'll be a lance with your name. There's literally a lance with your name on it. Oh man, that's class. You can literally be like,
you'll just watch me drop off the side. God.
Just imagine like someone's like, you're gonna take this guy out. I was like, oh yeah, I've got a spell with his name on it. Like literally.
Imagine being like a wizard assassin and you're at the base of a tower and you're there smoking a cigarette and someone comes up to you and goes, you said you were going to assassinate that guy. Oh yeah, what was his name again? Tom, right. Tom. And a little beam goes up the tower in the window and kills someone stone dead.
I don't think this is little though. This is like, it's just a lance. A lance is big.
I love the idea of it being this tiny little insignificant bead and then it does a metric fuck ton of psychic damage. Yeah. It's the same thing I love when I describe Fireball. I do the same thing. I describe it as this little orange bead going and just flying across the room, and then it's like cocoon, and this huge explosion happens.
Yeah, the way the fireball looks always reminds me of, do you know, in like Gears where like the hammer, you had the hammer of dawn, and you could like point the is it Gears or Halo? They're Xbox games, they're the same to me.
It's Gears, the hammer of dawn.
Oh yeah, but you could like point the laser at the ground, and then like if you held it there for like 3 seconds, about a second later, just this column of fucking laser. Like that's what I've always thought. Like fireball was like, it's like no, this isn't what's gonna hurt you. It's just gonna tell you what's gonna hurt you where you are.
Yeah. Actually, I'm sure Mike. Just speaking of Fireball, Mike had a really good time when he used
Fireball.
I want to say Geist to control his mind, and I had him fighting E, and he used he cast that on you. So he put a delayed Fireball on you or Druin. It was Druin.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to wait the full time without losing concentration, so it did the max damage. So he used his what is it, Robo Stars that lets you go to the astral plane. Yeah, and he teleported there, and he just like kicked back and waited for the concentration on the spell to be like fully charged, and then it detonated. So good.
No, I don't think it detonated. We broke the spell in time.
Oh, did you? Oh,
yeah.
There's a lot going on.
I had made Slayer by then. I'm telling you, we broke the spell in time.
Oh, okay. But Martin.
Yes, Connor.
I think that's all the time we have today. I say I think. I actually don't know because I didn't start the clock exactly when we started, but I think we're up at about coming up on the half mark.
We're hour 22, so pretty solid.
Perfect. Okay. So yes, that's all the time we have today, Martin.
Indeed, it is. It's been a good one.
We actually had plans to talk about something entirely different, but there was a lot to unpack in this. I'm glad we got to do it though. I'm between this and the Draconic monk they brought up. Was it just a monk, or did they have something else?
It was like a bunch of Draconic things. Wasn't there? Oh, it was the monk. It was the ranger, because there was the Drake Warden ranger.
That was right. Yeah. I thought they were really like if they come out with some of these. Obviously, I don't think there's a lot that needs to be changed with these, except for that one fucking spell.
It'd be really cool if they did, and I'm just like, it's an idea that popped into my head now, and I'm just saying it in case it does happen in like a year or two, and like look back at this video and be like, look, I called it. I called it. Like a Fae versus Dragons book would be cool.
Or just as a war between Fae and dragons.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like a Mordenkainen's type book for Fae and dragons, but instead of like the blood war with the demons and the devils, it's the Fae and the dragons. And then the fairy dragons are just off at the side going, everyone please be friends.
Can't we all just get along?
I have so many emotions.
Whatever form this comes out in, I'm ready. I'm fucking ready for this.
And we're also closing in on Van Richten's actually coming out as well.
Yeah, of which I am super pumped about.
Give me some weird hells.
I have some upcoming. Well, I have some horror stuff in our campaign that we could come to again down the road, and I would look forward to incorporating some of what I learned from.
I would love to do more horror.
Yeah. More mimic buildings, please. But yes. Sorry, I'm distracted here. if you have any questions, I have to look up what my outro was against. I don't know that part. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, stories you'd like to share, or topics you would like us to cover, please tweet us at Micflayers Pod on Twitter. You can see it there. I think it's on the lower screen somewhere.
Bottom right-hand corner.
Bottom right-hand corner. You can also find us, or you can find our podcast on YouTube and Spotify as well.
Links also in the bottom right-hand corner.
Thank you very much. Martin, where can people... Oh, God, my mouth is just... Oh, blah.
I got you. People can find me on the internet, usually at the Micflayers podcast, but you can also find me on Twitter at So Sorry It's Over, which is also in the right-hand corner of my screen, which is just seemed to be a theme we got going on here. But yeah, you can also find me on twitch.tv/merch, kind of infrequently. It just depends if I'm really tired when I finish work. But yeah, that's kind of pretty much... You can mainly find me here every Friday, 6 p.m. Irish time, being a nerd with my good pal Conor.
I feel like I kept it together for the whole podcast, and now my mouth has just decided to give up. You can find me on Twitter at 0.Conor, ZEROPOINTCONOR, 1N, very important. And of course, every single Friday at 6 p.m. Irish time here on the Micflayers podcast. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this conversation about dragons and their feats, races, and spells thereof. My name is Conor.
And my name is Martin.
And we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.